Now that Isahi top hardcover or Third Eye of Iran, Aran or Aron Ark, Aaron Ark has become opener or beheld or miftah or fatihat and miftah, the part of it we have the Asura 1 and then we have Asura 48. Asura 1 is for the Fatiha or the opening of creation through Christ to Creator. Or in other words, when the third eye or the iris opens to Allahi crown or Qadir or Keter or the crown of creation, or the pupil, or the adasiyat, or the higher Jasper stony lens, or Yazdan Rahman, or Izadi Yasini, or Yahuwah, in which Yah is replaced with Yas, Yasua, or Yazuda, or Yazdana, or Izada. And so when you say Izada, it is praiseworthy. You are saying the merciful and praiseworthy property of God, and at the same time you are saying that that's the only name for the God, or the Yesi, that yeses and loves the creation with infinite amount of love. And so now the Isahi Iran or earning has opened, and so that part is called Asura 1. Now all that is at the very top, we call it Protos, or all the way Fara or far up, and then we get to the Eschatos or Eschaton or Eschat, or at the lowest, or من تحتها الأنهار, of the lowest of the heaven. Now Christ bounced, that has bounced up, now it comes down, and then it becomes Miftah, or Inna Fatahna Laka Fathan Mubina, or God's mouth has opened to Muhammadahi ear of good, or good humata, good hukhta or haqq, not batil, and then good huwarshta, good thinking, good talking, and good action. The three part of the law of Zoroaster prophet, peace and salam of Allah be upon him. And so we have Surah Al-Fatiha and Surah Miftah. Both of them are, one Miftah is related to the prophets that are hearing the Bina, and one part is related to the Al-Fatiha is related to the Chokmah, that is opens to the Hikmat of Allah, and then all the way gets to the Bina. And so now we're going through this process through this channel or interior design of the third temple of Solomon, that is not the retard architectural plans that bunch of Nimrodi, Jaguari, mushroom Mazatec shamans that are closed with Jewish rabbi clauses are talking about building it on the earth. The third temple is the temple for the ones that have basically attacked to the festered pharaohs and sodomite scribes and antilogus locusts of the book of Joel that their expertise is to just chew and eat and genetically modify the scripture as much as possible so that no one can bridge between Quran, Holy Quran, or Bible, or Avesta, or the Greek Gospels. Anyway, and now we're gonna look at how the book, the soft pages of the book of life, are going to become mastured or shuttered or yasturun or noon والقلم و ما یسترون or shuttered or love lined or kitab al-mastur, or how the kitab al-mastur or kitab al-maknoon or yakini book is becoming fulfilled with love of Allah. And so is earning the love light of Allah so that it can be transfused into our egotistical jungle of this, that its law is the survival of the fittest, that has eventually made its Federal Reserve banking system and Chinese empire of Xi Jinping and the yen money that is backed up with American dollar and is just has devoured the entire planet and is now wants more power. How about the God's power, huh? That's the amount of the greed that the gay Gog of the Magog with the Yagog in the middle, with the gay Yagog in the middle, can think about. And so now that Isahi top hardcover of the Iran or Ark or Aran, or the stable of the male cow, or also we have the Iran coming from the root word of Aryan or Arya, which means era, or that is the same era that comes into Era Salam or Jerusalem, or the bird nest, or the nest of earned ships into the Mumbuk, has become opened, and beheld, now that it is as Christ has opened, command or decision or tadbir or debir of 1 Kings 6:16, 1 Kings 6:20, or Holy Quran 7:9-5, or 10:3, or 13:2, يدبر الأمر or فالمدبرات أمرا. And so the tadbir or the debir or the dirayat or the decision and decree and command of God who is understood, and mubina or fathan mubina, we have the Surah Bayana or Bayan or Bina or understanding. Mubina, understood or digested or earned, and turned to written form of mastur or mashtur, shetter, yasturun, through the most highly hovering horizon of Sedar Tiri or Sadratul Muntaha, Bel Ufuq al-A'la, all the way up in the Holy of the Holies. Then he then he, or the Christ, or the river of life, or the chokma that is مبینات by the elders and by the 24 living beings. Then he continues to nozzle down تنزل تنزيل or down like roaring Qur'ana or qara'a or like crying screaming river of love life, by reaching to the third temple that we call it holy Hekal in 1 Kings 6:3, 5:17, Heikal, or we have it also as the Mizbah or Mazbah or altar of Rozahi Subhan Sapas Sabamai Shabach Alua Hing Smoke Spirit Incensa or Duhan. That's the Rozahi Duhan. And so that's the altar of incense, or the Cubansis table of shew bread, or salam lahm panah pahnei, plus higher half of Christ Karimi candlestick. And so the higher half with 7 spirits or skies, or the holy smokes of Allah, upper body of Christ Karim, or upper heaven, or the or cotton cloud, or the Ruhi radiance, or Jaza Quze Jozaq. That's what we have it in Isaiah 11:1. That's the Jozaq, or that means wine, Gossypium, or Pambe, or the cotton. And that's the proper meaning of Qaza, or Quze in Persian, Arabic, or Hebrew. Quze Persian, Jozaq Arabic, Qaza Arabic, Persian, Hebrew, altogether, which means white Gossypium, or hairy cumulus bowl of Yahuwah Salam, or Yas, or Yeshai, or Yeizadi, yes, sun source. And so that is also known, that higher part is also known, or the higher heaven, where we have the Heikal, or the altar of incense, is also known as branched part of Messiahi menorah, or Yarek, Warak, Yaraq, Warak. Or also we have it as the Raqiya, or Raqqa Manshur, or Raqiya in Genesis 1, many times repeated, or lampstands, swirling, eagle fly, measure, nashr, nashring, nashr in Hebrew coming from nashr in Arabic and Persian. Nashr here means eagle, nashr here means running, flowing, like the eagle that is flying. And so that part is the phoenixy part. And so one of the characteristics of the Raqiya is mentioned in Surah 52, 1 verse 3, which is Raqqa or Raqiya Manshur. That is Manshur. What is Manshur? Manshur, or Nashr, or Nasr. Nashr is running, flowing, tawafing, or 12 ternahing, or fly fruiting. We call it hum azwajahum fi shughlan fakihun على الارائك متكئون هم فازواجهم في شغل فاكهون سلام خیرا این سوره یاسین سلام من that salam of Allah is upon him. And so that's the flight fruiting or of the tree of life, or grape revolving, or jafan kal jawab, or the grape balls or the eyeballs that are revolving, or sufi swirling, or earring and hearing and eye touching or eye gazing to Allah, and or jaryaning or majraing, majraha of the Noah's Ark. That's how you enter the heaven. You're not gonna sit stagnant. Hey, you cannot, even if you want. You're just gonna tajri. The nirvana is for the Hari Helions that are gonna just kind of scream because of the loop of the stinky and low quality choices that they have made. They could never come out of their gentle genitalia. They were either stuck with their genitalias or their minds. And so tajriyan also, we have it in Surah Rahman Yazdan, or Yazdan Rahman, or Yeshi the Rahman, Yeshi the most merciful, or Yishai the most merciful, or Yasin Yasnahi the most merciful. And so that's what they are doing as the tajriyan. And we also call that branch part as the fanning or fluting, or Yasminahi Senta in 12 Mannamunic months of Revelation 22:2, or Galgaling or Gilgaling. These are all different. Or Qala Qala, they are saying, they are saying something. What are they saying? You cannot be close to Izad, or the praiseworthy Yazdan Rahman, or Yessing, or Yeshaying, Yeshi, or Yasin, or Yasna, Yasnaworthy God, or the praiseworthy, or the capital Jasper. And then be there close to that vicinity, and then sit stagnant. That's not gonna happen. And so what you're gonna do in spontaneously is that you're gonna start qalaying, and what you're qalaying is sebomai, or sebo, or sepastos Allah, or sepastos taltios mota'al, sepastos taltios mota'al, sepastos taltios mota'al. And that is precisely the meaning of galgal or gilgal. Hebrew 15:34, 35, 36, 37. And so dining rooms that are mentioned also in First Chronicle or the Book of Kings, the dining rooms are with the side chambers. There are not bunch of priests that are eating chickens and then buffaloes and that kind of thing. No one does that. Or bunch of vegetarians that are eating I don't know, grapes and then bananas and then making smoothies for themselves, or that kind of garbage thing. No, these dining rooms are is only for is placed in the altar of incense for basically fruiting or eating by eating Allah, or by becoming allowed to use the Allah in the word of Allah in your existence. That's in your praises, or you are allowed to receive the infinite amount of incoming of the river of life that is flowing all the way up from there to lower levels, and so you're doing that. You're allowed to receive that water word of life into your world, and so that's basically what you're dining in your in the room's side chambers. But again, this is the very high level. This is for the ones that have been successful in overcoming the vanity inside and the fear of the muscle bubbles and then muscle bubble army of the Barack Hussein Obama and Trump that are brainwashing their serpent receiving or yin receiving soldiers in China and States with enough amount of nationalistic brainwash and propaganda of nationalism and that kind of garbage. Anyway, this is basically what is happening in the higher heaven. In other words, the higher heaven or the garden or the Jannat or Jannah or branch Afanan Oven Heikal, and so Afanan that we have in Surah 55 is one of the names of Allah. Verse 48 is talking about the Afanan or phenoming or phoning or voicing or ovening or offening, that we have it also in Ezekiel, and so or whirlwinding, that's or wheel, the rotary circulation, that is called afananing or phoning, and so or fanning. Basically the Raqqul Manshur is basically the fanning flute. That's how the Book of Life, the bride is doing the dance in, or the stars are fanning in the Book of Life in that godly galaxy. And so fanning or Raqqul Manshur comprises of two spirit springs that we have it mentioned in Surah 55. These two are the fifth throat chakra spring, or the da'at or the da'awat or du'ai khub or the good prayers, as well as good promise or healthy promise or good talk. And so that is related to the fifth throat chakra spring or altar of incense that we have. And then altar of incense is just producing subhanallah, a smoke spirit. And then by fire fear or khawf, and fear of God as well as love of God are the same thing. From Allah sends up du'at or dua or da'awat or prayers, and this is the spirit of the knowledge, plus fourth heart chakra spring. And what does fourth chakra spring or the Tifrat is doing? It is doing tawfir or wafur or wafaring or overflowing or abundantly tifarating, that we also have it mentioned in I think at least 2 or 3 ayahs in Holy Quran. We will look at it, but it is basically the part that is it is the transition part between the higher heaven and then the lower heaven, and then it is producing tawfir or wafaring, and the tanur is wafaring, or the oven is producing over flooding the lower heaven, and then from the lower heaven floods the earth, whether with wrath of God or with mercy or lack of wrath, mercy or lack of mercy, that is wrath. And so in the merciful, meanwhile, that these 2 spirit springs that are mentioned, فِيهَمَا عَيْنَانِ تَجْرِيَانِ, this is for the higher heaven in Surah 55:50. And so these 2 parts are thankfully tearing or sincerely smoking. They accompanied these da'at and these tifrat or tawfir are accompanied by 2 side gardens that are mentioned, or 2 hesed, chasid, or zel, or fervor or ardor, or the loving. Chesed is what we have it as hasad in like hasidic love or chesidic love, and then we have the of these 2, zeal or tasteful enthusiasm, fire, zest, esteem, and Allahi ardor, jealousy, favor for beauty and love, whose lovely fruit of kind counsel is etza or va'az. What we have it as in Isaiah, the spirit of counsel, that is basically the spirit of va'az, that is mentioned in Arabic, coming from the same root, or also Persian, that is va'az is. And so this is this spring is coupled in the collaboration between these 2 centers of the boulevard. Wheat is coupled with Zawjan, with the wheat mighty garden of Gabrielahi Javura, coming from the same root. Gabar or Javar or Jabura or Jabbar or Jibrail, we call it. And so that's basically the mighty power that is that has received the counsel or the va'az of chesed or hasudi, hasad, love, or qairat, love to Allah. And so this part, this Jabbar or this mighty El Shaddai will take care of the Buddhist and Hindu anomalies that are devoid of the meaning and love, and are just happy with their minds and their genitalias, and that's it. And so this Jabbar or Jaburai or Gabrieli power will be or water word will be exerted through this fihema aynan tajriyan. One ayn is Jaburai ayn, and the chesedi or the hasud or the qairati ayn, and these 2 ayns or these 2 springs together, they do tufur or wafar al tanur that is mentioned in Noah's flood. and the same flood happened not for 40 days and nights, but for 7 days and nights upon the Samudic psychopaths of Shova, or Hebrew strong 77, 22 and 23. That's the name of the Shiva or Shova or Su in Arabic, or in Persian, or Sayyat. And so it is happening again because those Samudic psychopaths have made their Vaticanian, Kremlini, Washington White House, Dark Housey, and Babunish Budik Bab of Baha in close to Mount Carmel in Rafah. They have made their own funky joke, or Durga Druj Dragari Dragoni Empire of Lies. And so they are flood worthy, and actually their dose is due because of the mercy of Allah. Otherwise they are just again the first degree murderers need to get a nice a slap from the heavy hand of Allah. But again, the heavy hand of Allah is too heavy. When Allah slaps, you're gonna turn many times before you fall down. And no matter how many F-35s you have, and how many brainwashed soldiers you are growing with, even in the churches of your army, or in the mosques of your army, but that's not gonna prevent you from basically God bringing justice upon that Gogian government of Dajjal and his global alliance, or the Ahzab, and his UN. After higher heavenly Heikal, who is fully allocated or subjected, or sabiq, what we have it in English as subject, we have it as sabaqat, amal sabaqat of Prophet David and Solomon in 11, fully allocated. And so after higher heavenly Heikal, or the body, or the temple, or the priestly body whose heart is Shekinah dwelled, or Sakinat by Allah's presence, and his clothing is adorned with the pomegranate bells, and we reach to that, with the golden bells with the pomegranate juice in it, and the inside is full of Gabrieli and Hasud Qairati, love to Allah with good dua, or the prayers and da'wat, and plenty of wafur, or the abundance or overflowing of the love of the bride and the Hosanna, her husband, in their 12 eternal honeymoons to Yazdan Rahman, praiseworthy Izad, that gets this tifara to boil with involuntary, unstoppable taslim and flow of fluting and fanning and afanan, or phoning, or voicing, or wording, or galgaling, or altar of incense sawing, a smoke spirit of Subhan Sepas Shabach Sebomai Alua Allah Taltios Muta'al. And so so after this heavenly heikal, or the temple, or the body, the higher body, heavenly body, is fully allocated or subjected or sabaqated amal, and do the subjections, to give daily bread. اسبق علينا في هذا اليوم من خبزنا اليومي. Give us our daily bread thing today on these dining room side chambers. And so again, because they need it, hey, again, in vicinity to Izad and Isus, Izad with Isusi, ring rainbow nimbus. I think you can imagine that you cannot stop, and so you want just more daily bread. Manamonic meat for flying, or eagle thrones. Valahmot Teir, that's where the Valahmot Teir is coming, or Bethlehemi meat of the birds. And to recite a spirit, a smoke, speak قدر في السرد, قدر في السرد, or measure. Some people have translated as the joints, but in fact the sad root is coming from masrud or surud, and so that is related to singing. And then the distance is, God is saying to David to make a and as well, and Solomon to the civil engineer architect is saying that, like, according to the blueprint, measure a healthy distance for different parts of the interior design, so that we can have a lovely Ruhi revelry that has plenty of room for dancing of the bride, because she's gonna just rock the dance floor. And so with Asurahi of Subhan Sepas Shabach Sebumai Allah, Subhan Shabach Sebumai Sepastos, or Sepaus Tebaud in Persian Avestan language, or Sepaus Tebaud Yazdan Yeshai Yasper Stone Allah, the tetragrammaton at the top. And so with Asurahi of Subhanallah, and Isahi Ruh Edeni river. And so after this is happening, then Isahi now it is turned on, and that's and so now Isahi current and river of fire, and love fire, or Christ the Karimi, or Mu'ain, or Ka'sam Ma'in, that we have it in 56:18, that is talking about Ka'as Kush, case, or the case from Mu'ain, or eye, or a spring, a case of the spring, the Salsabili spring, would Ma'un Maskub, or rich extent project cast, or Shekinah shade to lower heaven, and the journey continues, or to the new earth that we have it into Revelation 21. When and also the new earth, or the new or the lower heaven is also mentioned as future fortress of New Jerusalem, or Arya Salam, or Air Salam, or inner courtyard of Revelation 11:1, or the 1 Kings 6:36. Inherited heirs, awrasnal heirs, these are the ones that receive the new heirs. Matthew 5:5 or Holy Quran 39:74. And so, or architectured and enlivened or amored or bride or Beitel Omr, or the house of eternal life or living, of Amores Emrana, or Amores Ma'amur, or Beitul Ma'amur. These are coming from the same root. The third surah of Holy Quran is named after the Beitul Ma'amur, or the lower part of the third temple, or the new earth, and that is basically where we have the Surah Imran, or Surah 3, and also we have the Beitul Ma'mur, where the eternal amorous bride is. It is in honey here, or the worthy wife, that Hosanna he husband, tiered or tadbired. We have it in Holy Quran 10:3, turns, or the tier tadbir that comes all the way up toward the lower heaven, or the tier tadbir of Allah, or the word of Allah that is being heard and received by the Sama'ing Shamaim, turns into two springs or eye, and fihama aynan, and so we have one in Surah 55 verse 50, and then one we have in 55:66, and so this is for the lower heaven of fourth heart chakra spring, which is the conjoining between the higher and the lower, or the link, or the surrounding link between these two, or the tawfir or wafur. We have it here in 23:27, 25:53, or tifarati ulam ula, ola, or visiting vestibule, open porch. We will talk about it. Plus, and so this is the first one, and the second one is the third navel chakra, or Manipurai, copper basin, or brazen altar, or of burnt offering, or it is brazen because of the spring of the copper that is related to the navel belly, or the Aina Qatran that God has given it in Surah 34, Ain al-Qatr, in Surah 34 verse 12 to Davida and Solomona. This this is a clean copper. This is a clean copper that basically this is an energy package or electrical package that is has added programming value and is turned into a meaningful word, and then it is allowed to enter into the palace to be used for interior designing. And so this is the third navel chakra of the cow-crossed king, or Manipurai, copper basin in Hebrews 13:10, or 2 Chronicle 4:1, or brazen altar, or Mazbahul Nahasiyat. But again, this Nahasiyat or Nahushat is the one from which Nehushtan of Moses is taken. And then this brazen or the copper basin is basically turned into the gold by receiving the blessing of the higher springs, higher two springs of burnt offering, or Ein a spring of blessed cobra copper, or alchemically cleansed distilled attar or kauthar. And that's what we have, or attar or qatar or asar or ether or qatran, or we have it also in Greek as the purification part. This is the katiro. We will talk about it in detail, and so that's the Ain al-Qatr that is given to Solomon and David in 34 verse 12, that are accompanied with the two side gardens of Imam Mahdi or Hudi or Yahudahi, and then Nazih or Nazahatan, Nazakh, or gushing grace, spraying, that's what it means, or pouring preeminence. That we have the preeminence as one of the pillars of our Christian neighborhood. That preeminence is coming from here, or Nazarati, what we call it, Nazakh, or Nazah, or Nasah, or Nazakhatan, or Fihe ma Aynan Nazakhatan. And so also 55:66, or Yahuwallahing headlight hod hoda hodos. Also I haven't I forgot to mention it here. Hodos in Greek, Arabic, Persian, hoda. That's the root word of the Imam Mahdi, or the head in English, and hod in Hebrew are all coming from the same root. And so this hod plus Nazahatan is related to the Tifarat and to the Yasad, and so together they are coming at the navel, and so and that's how the Yasad is after this blessed belly button of the altar of the altar of brazen altar of burnt offering. And that is why it is brazen, or it's the cobra copper, or it is the Ainul Qatr, or Mazbah Nahasiyat. And so after the Mazbah of Nahasiyat, then we reach to, after this blessed belly button that is full of baby basiji blada, in this belly button of Christ the Karimi, dear dew of dawn, or the morning, or that we will look at it later on, that is full of baby basiji blada and anti-Israeli charisma, the inner courtyard, or the new earth, or our rational heirs, that is mentioned in Surah 39:74, precisely related to 21:1-2, or Amor's bride, or the Beitul Ma'mur. Imrana of Surah 3 is talking about the house of eternal life, or eternal Amor, reaches to the lowest page or lowest hardcover of Messianic Moon Book. And so that's how we reach from the Protos hardcover to the Eschatos hardcover of the Book of Life. That's how the Book of Life is mastured, or shuttered, or love-lined, or written. And so now that is written, then it is what it is, and that is confirmed. The Kitab is has received the word from Allahi author, and so reaches to the lower or the lower hard cover of the Messianic Moon Book and becomes confined or warmly hugged or barriered by her Bismillahi boulder barzakh or bridegroom at Zoroastrian Isahi door of Turturi temple or Shekinah tent tabernacle or Sakine or Masaken of Eden, Eid, Va'ad, Adn, that are all coming from the same root, or the Moed that we also have it in Genesis 1:14, or the Wa'adnakum Janabat Tur al-Ayman. That's how the Tur al-Ayman is love lined, or the book of life, or the mountain of Amen, immune, safety, security, solid rock. And God says that, and so we have had the Wa'adna, or the rendezvous with Moses and the elders by the Tur al-Ayman, and so that Edeni, basically they come to receive the port preeminence of God, and so the port preeminence comes from Yesod. And so where are the elders of the Israel? They are here in Malakut, and then down here they come, and then from the belly bottom of the bee, or the flying honey bee, golden bee, the honey falls into the Malakut, where Master Rumi or many of the apostles and students of Christ class cup or case are actually receiving the downpour of preeminence or meeting appointment, as we will read later on in detail about 12 stone types, or Barzakhan wa Hejran Mahjura, that is mentioned. This Barzakhan and Hejran Mahjura, this is about the Barzakh, or the isthmus, or the boulder barrier, or the barrier basically of the Messianic Mount, the inner side of the paradisiac partition, or Araf of Surah 7 verse 42 I think to 5, or the lower hardcover of Messianic Mount Book, comprises of interchangeable dark green, or we call it Modhamatan, and so this is the part that Khidr or Prophet Khidr, or Rufruf al-Khuzra, or Rifraf rock with green comes, as well as unfortunately here I have it mentioned here, emerald gravel grape. There are 12 stones there, and so one of the stones is basically what we call it as Samargedos, or Zomorod, or Zomar, where we have the Zemoras. Zemoras means the branches or the flutes, and Samargedos or Zomorod in Greek and Persian, they are coming, and Arabic, they are coming from the same root. They are coming from the root of Zomorod, or the emerald. It means Samargedos or Zomorod, or the singing flute, or green or lively alive stone, or green stone, or something that is not silent, and so that's why we have it here in Revelation 4:3. The emerald stone is one of the names of Christ, or the one of the 12 stone types, or the gates of Christ, or Barzakh, is Zomorgodos type, and each stone has is the representation of one of the merciful characteristics of the messianic mount, or the characteristics of the paradisiac preeminence of Allah. And so that is actually coming into the outside night in the Malakuti membrane. Here that's where we have the reception of that. And so it's obviously and so basically we are looking at the internal intestines and inside the gut and the heart of Christ, or Mahish Asiriyahi Baqare. This is in again his lovely Venus wife is inside, or Anahita temple, or Anahid or Nahid or Zohre temple. We will look at, or Zohari temple is as well as his God, as well as his wife. That's all Christ has. It's more than enough. They are inside him, and so that's basically a scan of inside of the Christ. And so Christ, as we will look, that's the meaning of the Zulqarnain. Zulqarnain, it means the one with the two eyes, and so we are anthropos, we can only walk outside, but like in a way Christ has both sides. And so it's like, as one way of explaining it for an individual that has for an anthropos, what's the meaning of the having two eyes, is that like you can go outside of your body, and then you can walk in the outside dimension and the space, and also you can go inside yourself, and then you see the bacteria and whatever you have, the hemoglobins, and then the stuff inside yourself. And so you go outside and inside of yourself, like you have the vision to see both sides. That's the meaning of the double cornea, or qarniya, or Zulqarnain, or the one with two corneas. That's the meaning of having eye inside and outside. That is basically the characteristic of Christ, as well as the four living beings. And so and that is actually very unique, like for anthropos, that's the only way of explaining it. Isahi, yes, and so this is one, Samargados, or Zomorrod, or Zomar, or Zomaran, part of the Zomar, and we have to, and bunch of the branches are just silent. Those flutes have been silent and deadly. But the green flutes, or the green branches in the garden or in the jungle, some of them are like Buddhist chimpanzees, or the Hindu helions, or the Taoist Zen zombies. They have been silent. The best that they can do is to just sit in silent meditation on mushroom, and carve the stones, and then make relativities and those kind of things. Anyway, but the other ones are the ones that are singing on Sundays in the churches, or on the Fridays, on the Fridays of Rage. They are, or the Great March of Returns. They are doing it in front of, not in a under AC with air ventilation, but they are doing it in front of the gun barrels, by the fence of these Israeli monsters that say something about their acquaintance with God, but again they are nothing but a bunch of apartheid apes of Anu Hanuman that are good for orchestrating gay prides and making doof festivals and plagiarizing and reverse engineering the nature, and then find an Hindu orangutan like Barack Obama to call him God, and then rub themselves to his dildo and then talk about feminism. That's a madhouse actually. But anyway, here we are looking at the zomars that are green in different places. And so, Isahi Jaspereston or Jaspis or Yashef, or that is again, that's the root word, this Yas or Yas or Yas or Yesi, or the root of Yesi of Isaiah 11:1 or Asura 36 1 verse 1, that Yasini Yazdan or Izad Yazata is the root word of Isa Yazata. One is Yasin Yasna in capital, and the other one is Lisa. That's how the power in the name of Christ comes from this stone, or this Yasminahi Ismellah. From the outside night, all of the triple layers, okay, these triple layers of the Holy of the Holies, and the altar of incense, and then the altar of burnt, brazen altar of burnt offering, or the Beitul Ma'amur, all of them from outside, once you look at it from like a dark from a distance, imagine that in a cold night, in the winter night, you see a house with a very cozy, nice fireplace with bunch of eternally living beings inside, and then from outside you are kind of shivering with the cold and plenty of self-damnation. And so all of these three layers and the expanse of the heavenly home is obviously shine shaloming or preeminancing by the outside word. I'm talking about the Malakuti membrane that has two sides. One is for the caliphate of the Ramarat and the cockroaches that are inside that pantheon, and the other is for the Zoroastrian Aryan birds of the flying Yaro, Aero, Salam. And so from the outside, not all of the triple layer expanse of the heavenly home is obviously shine shaloming and can be seen salam through Isahi eastern gate, or of Ezekiel 40:22, 44:1, or Exodus 27:3, or Asura 761, that Udkhulu bil Bab and Yasjudu, and when you are entering through the 12 gates of the Edeni East, or the Eden, or the Moed, or Adn, or Eid, or the eternal celebration, or the rendezvous, Ya'ad, Va'ad, Eid, or وَعَدْنَاكُمْ جَانِبَ الطُّورِ الْأَيْمَنِ, or the rendezvous by the mountain of safety, or Jasper wall of Zechariah 2:5, the Jasper firewall of Yesha, or Asha according to Avestan terminology. Yesha, Asha, Ishq, they're all coming from the same root. Yasha, Asha, Ishq, Ash, Ish, fire of Revelation 21:18, who like a burnahim, barrier of Christ crystal, or burning bush, but some people translate it, but burning breast, Sina, or wide Azam, or Ajrul Azim, or Ajur, Ajrul Azim, or the white Azim brick, or the Hosannahi Hajar stone, or Christ the Kareem and Chrismahi curtain coin, of Surah 36:11 covers the entire 2-3 temple in 12 fire foliage, siyab and sundus of green emerald, khidr, and that's how the emerald kingdom is made. That barakats or istabrak, barakat or blesses and the lights and the shines as isahi eye iris or our cup or ka'sam ma'in of pure water word or tohar or sharaban tahura of 76:21. That's how the river of life comes to water the field. Sharaban tahura or clear krisma or hosanahi carpet cow of qara hasanan of cow cushion or bagare fender. These are all the names of related to the Yesad or Isad, or raising, healing, roofing, Rafa or Saqful Marfu or Saqful Mahfuz or Lawhul Mahfuz. We will look at them later on. Or Episcopos or Episcopos sealing the sky. This Escopos is in fact epi is above, and the Escopos is Saqfos, Saqafos. Episaqafos is what we have it as the Episcopos, say ceiling, a sky, high cave, refuge, tent, column, or misqab, saqiba, qab or qiba or qubbe of songs of Solomon 4:6, or frame, ream, brow, hillock, that like turquoise, or fire, freeze, or freeze, in English is coming from firuze or fruzu. Dome copula, this is another another quality of the 12 stones. And lapis lazuli asaman lajavardi, love piece sky, and ape as a negative, amatus, amethystus, or amat, the one that is on mat or moat, or the one that is not opaque or unopaque, unobscure, transparent. Tablet would save, separate, or phragmos or furqan. That's another name of Christ. Surah 25 is named after the Christ as the criterion, or the bayana, or the bayan, or the bain, that is mentioned I think for 8 times, more than I think 8 times in first page of Torah, Genesis 1, as Furqan or Phragmos, or the fracking criterion, that bayana, that divides the night from day, or divides the garbage and the hate from pure love and surrenderance, or divides the rebellion against clash, broken, salamed, taslimed, surrendered, ego denuclearized surrenderance to love Lord, between amorous bride life and Bahrul Masjur, or lake of burning fire. These are the 2 brides of the Christ. This bride, we call it Amores or Imran, or Beitul Ma'amur. This is the bride of one of the corneas of the Christ. That cornea, we call him Melchizedek, or Malek Sadek, or Maq'adus Sidq. And then the other bride is the orangutans that have been participating in Mahisha Surah Mardini. Now those are the retards of the second base. Mardini upon themselves. Again, like that is spitting up, but it just comes back into their faces. And so no matter how much they stick their tongues out like their Kali Khali, the Kali and Khali comes back to them. All that Messiah is doing is just mercifully mirroring their retard rebellion. No matter how many billions they are, 4 billion, 5 billion, 50 billion, with all the processing power that they have, with all the military might that they have, with all the hypocrisy and the jokes that they have, with all the food of the planet that they control, with all the wealth of the planet that control, with all the information channel and the proper censorship of the planet and the propaganda system that they control. And the more they do this, the more they are actually causing casualty to human circle. But that doesn't do anything to God, doesn't help God. The only part that it does is basically, again, that hurts the heart of God, because it increases the number of Harihellions, or the LSD victims of this orangutan, president of Planet Ape. Or Allah's, and so that is another name of Christ, criterion or fragmos or bayan or bayana or bina, or the division of the Genesis 1 that divides, binas, bayans, or differentiates, distinguishes, describes. That's how you speak. In that speak, there is an absolute differentiation between hate and love. If you combine them and talk about like the puppet Pope Francis of the Antichrist, about one world religion, and then unconditional love of bunch of sodomites, and psychedelize the apes of Anu Hanuman, then you are not talking about love. You are talking about an egotistical desire for vanity. Allah's Christ countenance, or salam screen, or lower visage, or wajh rabbaka, or wajh rabbahum. And so once you are looking at all of these three layers, they are all toppled on top of each other. That's why we say kind of 3-in-1 type of thing, or wajh rabbahul a'la, or wajhullah, or the love Lord's wajh means visage. What we have it as visage in English is coming from wajh in Arabic, visage or wajh. And so the wajh, or the love Lord's lower arch, and so the lower arch is the lens, or the lesser panah, or pahne panah pain, or the lower pupil, because we have two pupils, or two corneas in creation that are from jaspis stone, or lapis lazuli, or firuza, or turquoise, but in fact from yashif, or jaspis, or iaspis, or isusi jasper, or in English it is pronounced as jasper, but jasper. And that or Yeshai stone, and that is Allah and Christ. And so the lower one is what we call it as the lesser pane, or the high hijab, or wara ul hijab of Araf of Surah 7. That's actually the name of the ones that have passed through the criterion, very tough, narrow, depending on the amount of the forgiveness of Allah. Al-Araf, Araf, Irfan of Surah 7, 46, 48. Or Arafel, or heavenly highest clouds, or Arafel, or the thick cloud. And that thick cloud is basically, Araf also means neck in Hebrew, as well as the back. And so Araf or Arafel is coming basically from the back roof of a ceiling, the roof side, not the ceiling ends of the hell night, or the lake of burning fire, because the Christ is like a capstone on top of that boiling sewerage of sorrow, and that and so at the other side we reach to Arafeli, thick cloud of Dukhan, of Yasminahi Dukhan, or Rozahi Incensa, of 7 spirits, or Aref. And that's Araf means also as basically Araf, or as knowledge, or Irfan, or the convention, or the knowing. Into Nur Nar, ledge of knowledge, and onboarded images who are uploaded onto Isahi photo album in order to ta'arif, and it's coming from the same root word, ta'arif, araf, or acknowledge Allah, ta'arif, the ones that go into the book of life, the ones that can see the meaning of the knowledge, or the what is behind the Nuring ledge of knowledge, and that is a ta'arif, or the gnosis of God. That's why they are the ones that are Allahumming. That means that the ones that are the Shamaimi ones that can hear or see Allah directly behind his Christ Karimi Salam screen. It was somewhere around here that we had. And so again, the Arafel, or the back, or the neck, or the Irfan, which means knowledge, Islamic Christian knowledge of God. They're all coming from the same root. That for that knowledge, you need to have a certain gain of altitude for being able to receive to that ontological level of the knowledge. That is why I use the metaphor of the onboarded images into the Isahi photo album of Allahi photographer. The ones that have their pictures is taken into the memory of the book of life. Adu, Suf, Sufi, Sail, Wasf, Saf. And these are all the root words of the Suf and of the Sufi sailing, or the Ein Sofing, or Saf and Safa. لَنَحْنُ الصَّافُونَ, like the angels in the rows, safing or Sufi sailing, in the rows or in the ranks, they are lining up, and in different levels of the emanation, and then they characterize or توصیف all around Holy Quran, verse 1 of chapter 1, or the capital logos of John 1:1. Of him holy self, with bent and broken necks, or araf of Surah of Hebrew strong 6202, that is related to the thick heavenly cloud of 6201, or ta'rif, or arif, or araf, and they're all coming again from the same part, that are crushed by his Christ the Karimi convention, or orf, or religion. That's how you enter. The ones that fall on this rock will be shattered, and on whoever it falls, it will crush them into the second death. And so the ones that have received that orf, or araf, or the altitude and knowledge of receiving to that partition, or araf means the ones on the roof, or on a partition, or on a hijab, the partition or the barzakh between heaven and hell. That partition is Christ the Karimi Iaspis stone, or the Iaspis stone screen or partition. And so heavily loaded liver, or glorious kabud, we call it Gombad Kabud of Ezekiel 10:4, or the dome, the kingdom that is fulfilled with the glory of Allah God. And so, or the copula cloud, Sahab Saqil, or Qamam, as we looked before, or the Naf and Nefel, Nif, we call it in English, of Revelation 14:14, the Christ the Karimi, thick Arafeli cloud of Exodus 40:34-5 also, or the copula cloud of Creator. Also we have the tribe of Naphtali, Naf, or Snif, or Nif Tali, Nif Ta'ali, or Nif of Allah, or Holy Spirit of Allah. It's the meaning of the Naphtali. And so that is in the belly button of Christ the Karimi, the dough of dawn, or the hind of the morning, or the gazelle of the morning, with the Naphtali mask. That we will look at it in Holy Quran, as well as the Songs of Solomon later on. A standing base of lamp stand, or the lower panim, hard cover, lower panim, panah, pahne, what we have in Persian, Sanskrit, panah, or panim, face, or also in English pan, the lens, the pupil, the pan, the face, the mouth, the belly button, as are all talking about, or the breast, the bosom breast, are all talking about the same thing, of Hebrew 55, I think 72, of Sinai. That's the meaning of it. Lower panimi, hard cover, whose love light covers and cleanses the Qudsi Qudsi, Qudishi, Katuzi, Katuzi, Katuzimai, or the seated attendants, like the ones in the attendance of the Christ class. And Sufi mystics of Yom Kippur, Kana Mazajahu, cover offing of the sins, and Kafur, or the Yom Kippuring, re Christ class cup, case or Kaas, with messianic mystery. Another name of that veil is, or the salam screen is, the mask mystery or mysterious, and we have it in Holy Quran in English we call it mystery, mysterious in Greek, or satar in Hebrew, or mastur, or hijab. Mastur is another name of Christ in Holy Quran 1745. Or the hijab of master, or the mysterious covering that makes a mystery behind that. That's the meaning of the partition, or the covering, or the hijab of Mother Maryam, Surah Mother Maryam, 1 verse 17, also Surah 17 verse 45. That is also equal to another definition of it is the overlaid second and first chakras of upward facing Yahu, Yasha, Vasha, Vastahi, Yesad, or Isad, or Yesad, and we have it as the Saqful Marfu, or Sadaf, or Vasad, or Yasud, or Vasabat, or Isad, Yast, Sawa. These are all meaning, or the save in English language, coming from the same root, or Savadistana, or Istadan, or standing, as together at the same root, or Yesadi Kushin, or the Savadistanai set of 2 Tarshishi glasses, 2 6-parted tablets, or glass doors of transparent Tarshish, or that means Tar Shishe, or Dor Shishe, or Darach Sheshi Tar Shishe, or the wet glass, the shining wet glass, shine showering bulb wet pearl glass, Tar Dor, Durri, or the pearly Shishe, or Sikse, or Sixi glass, plus the Muladra, or Muvalladi lily cup, or Qudurur Rasiyat of Irona. And so the Muladrai part is the related to the Boazi column, or the lower horn, or cornea of Christ, or Halal Yahuwallahin Hilal crescent moon sickle, or Durufana, or Harub of Genesis 3:24. And so these two are kind of getting together, the Yesad and the Muladra, that is coupled with the navel Manipurai of the brazen altar of burnt offering. Also we call it as the molten sea. And so the molten sea with the cobra copper, or with the qatran, we looked at it, that is a spring inside the Beitul Ma'mur, with Yahudahi Hodos, as well as the fiha ma'aynan nazahatan. And so once that passes, then it reaches to the basically Yesad or Sabadistana, or Yesad or Isad or Sadaf or Vasad. And after the Vasad or Sad, the flood of the dam also comes from here. That is the dam or the cushion or the foundation of the tree of life, of the trunk of the tree of life. We get to the Mulad Rai part, or the Muvalled, or the part that is getting that is basically exercising the orders of the software platform of Protos to Eschatology upon the dark waters, or vanity, or the Alpha to Omega pottery pit. And so that's how Muvalled or Mulad Rai energy of the energetic package is prepared for the programs that are uploaded on the computer, for the heavenly parts of the programs, as well as the fact that it is basically exerting order upon the chaotic waters of the hellhole. And so Halaliyahu Wallahi Helal crescent, that is upward salaming and downward face firing into hellhole of old earth, with anti-gay and anti-Taoist meteors or matters or matter or matara. Meteors are coming from matters in Hebrew or in Arabic. That is the repellent tombstones or the bana of also we have it in Surah 105 verse 4. These are the tombstones that were showered on the people of the Tot or the Ganesha, the elephant, or the ibis bird, or Varuna. So Shoham, Shahab, Ab, or the king, the water world, as well as welcoming fire for rejoice, full melting, or delivering, or escape, birth, malating. These are all the names of delivering. The birth pains are for this part that are the people that want to malat out of pomegranate martyr juice out of muddy malat or pottery paste. Also we call it as the two back upward and downward looking lily of the first king. This is also, this lily means Susan or Shushan or Susan in English, or burning, or shine is another root word of it. That's related to the root word of Sinai or Zion, or Sinin in Holy Quran, verse Surah 95 verse 2. And so the lily is or the Susan or the Susan or Shushan is another name of the two back-to-back lilies that we will look at it on the 1 Kings 7:19 and 22. Also we call it as the Solomonian pearly palace or Sar. We also have it Sar in Hebrew, which means obvious palace, or the Susan, or the moon shining lily, or the sun shining, the face that shines like the sun. Or the word sun, SN, comes from is the root word of the Sinai, and that is how sunshine is made in English, or in Persian we call it Susan, or also scintillation. And the root word of the scintillation, sunshine, moonshine, shine, are all coming from mountain of Sinai, or Sinai, Sinai. And so we have the Susan, or Sushan, and Sushan is another name of the lily. We have it also in Daniel 8, the name of my father. And also again we will look in detail about the functions of the lily, the firepower of the lily, the muladrai fire of the firepower of the lily, or basically the flash of the camera of the Allahi photographer, camera of the Allahi photographer, with the heavy lens, telephoto lens, and telewide lens, and the body of the camera, we can look at it as the bride that is getting yashturund, and then once the focus and everything is made sharp focus, whether it is a fisheye photo shoot, or it is a telephoto shoot, whatever Allah has targeted, and then it is shot, and then the flash happens, and then Lily moonshines, or Susan moonshines, or sunshines into the night. And that is what we call as sar, or sarih, or tasrih, or clarification into the darkness, or word, or wared, irad kardan, or wording into the silence. Of Amores Bait, or Baitul Ma'mur, or the basically outside of the Holy of the Holies, or the lower heaven, whose ground floor, or the Saqful Marfu, or the foundation, is Isa made from top lamp wet lens, lily lodge. This lodge, or lodge, or lake, are all coming from the same root. This is the loka, this is the heavenly loka. This is the godly loka that basically pieces and floods the Satya loka and the rest of the urinated lokas of the excrement, into which Harihelions of Curse Krishna scratch, or the filthy Osiris are wallowing inside each other. The bacteria and all the viruses, and the LGBT germs, and the gurus, and all of those things are basically wallowing in there. And so this lodge is the what also we call it as the molten glass. We also have it in glass sea, or of Christos Christus, or in Revelation 4:6, that's the or Revelation 15 verse 2, sea of burning fire, or the live charcoal, or the burning bush, or the burning breast of and this is the where Sheba Sita is cleansed, and she takes off her na'alain, or saq, or the shins, and then now that is neck broken, then she enters into the belvedere of Ravana to see the Allahi creator for the first time. As soon as she then she smacks on her head and said, what the hell I was worshipping? What is that Rama piece of rot with that green retard stinky face? And so the god of cocaine, drug smuggling and trafficking through the Vietnam Wars, the god of taking care of the opium farms in Afghanistan, the god of opium crisis in the Chinese place of the Taoist victims of it, the god of hatred, of sweet Seresht. And so like another name of this glassy or the molten sea of first king, or Lodge or Lodge, the lily lodge lake, Lodge in Arabic, in English or forgot, but we have the Hebrew of it too. We will look at it. Or we call it glassy of sweet Seresht, Seresht in Avestan, or Christ, or Krach, or Krust, or Krach means Kerech, or frost, as well as the burning fire, or the frost, or the Tal, or the heavenly dew that comes and covers the mycelium, underground mycelium mesh of the manna mushroom, or we call it also as the Christos, and so this part of the this is all related to that, or the crystal pool of ice, frost, Sara, Sar, Kare, Kerech, Karas, Krach, or molten sea of cast metal of 1 Kings 7:16-23, 2 Chronicle 4:2-5, or Mobina, Mobayyan, Bayan, Imam, Yam, ocean of knowledge, or mother of knowledge, we call it as the or the source of knowledge. That's another name of Christ, one of the names of Christ in Holy Quran, verse 236, Surah 36, or Yasin, Yasnau, Yazdaun, Rahman. 1 verse 11 is one of the names of Christ is Imam Bina, or the obvious Imam, or the obvious or distinguishable or distinguishable ocean of knowledge, or clear Sultan. Also Sultan Mubin, we also have him as the Sultan Mubin, clear Sultan. And so Imam, or Yam, or Yom, also we have it as the in Genesis 1, God calls it day and night, and so the Galilee is the Lilith, the dark night is the Laylat, and then the Christ is named as Yam, or Yom, which means sea, the heavenly sea, the sweet water of sweet Seresht, and or the sweet water words, as well as the Yom, or Imam, or which means the mother book, or the day, inside whom is the heavenly sky, or the morning dews, or the sea of love, lightful liquor, that because of his generous flooding, or Sailul Aram, pouring, quenching, watering, bartendering, or yasaqing, that we have it also in Genesis, or masqa, or yasqa, saqi, or ashk, in Isaq, ashk in Persian, or tearing of John 8:12, or Holy Quran 760, 76:17. My master Rumia has chosen for him the mystic nickname of Shamsul Haq, Hagios Hukhta Khakak, Tabrizi, breezy. That's the name of Christ. And so that means who breezes, or breathes out, or breathes, or pours, or brews, or pours out, or the bruise, or sarh, or tasrih, or shows, or talks in the middle of this, and silence, or 12 تارشیشی درشیشی ترشیشی تیر rivers into darkness, or جنات من تحتها الانهار. That's how from underneath the heaven the 12 rivers come out for the 12 tribes to be drenched. Into dark night, or transparent halo, hollow, of Revelation 21:18, or 21 holos, or the glass, holosi, transparent, glassy, or messianic mother cup, or sarhum mumarradam min qawarir. That's how this basically palace or this obvious alam, or alam, or elam, or the banner, or the rakia, or the firmament is made covered with mini cups that are inside that mega cup, whose silver salam and white charisma is poured, circulated, yataft ala ya ayyuha saqi adar dawr mudawwar ka'san, or ka'sam min kafur, or case, or the cup, wa nawalha in divan of Hafiz, lyric poem number 1, love line number 1, the first line of the first poet of a master legacy piece of Master Hafiz Shirazi, one of the A+ graded students of Christ the class, that says that cow crust cup pours Yom Kippuri, or Kafuri, or Kauthari wine, or the water word from Allah into the cup, and then adder or door uncirculated in this Ruhi revelry, in this spirited gathering, or the holy hoop, and then feed us our daily bread and our daily wine. Turn around and let us see Allah, or manage, or turn around, or adir, or adder, or mudirat, or davvar, or manage this. And who is managing the Christ cup? Of course, Allah, He manager, or the cup bearer, or the Allah, He tapster that owns the cup. Into sharpened eyeball bowls, or crystal clear cord and salam silvered hearteslet, qawariran min fizzat, or qariyan aynan, whose crown chapiter, or keter, or qadr, third eye apertures, are crowned, determined, ketered, crowned, qadr, quduraha taqdiran. That's how they the portion of each cup is again, like when we are talking about the aperture of the eye, of course the aperture of our of my for instance cup is not as huge as seraphims, whose wings are covered with eyes. Those are eyes that get the influx of the mercy from Allah to reach to the entire heaven and earth below them. And so quduraha taqdira, every qadar, or keter, or the crown, or the cup diameter that can handle the fire flux of the mercy, or the heart that can from Allah, He source, it differentiates And so the third eye apertures are again these are for those third eyes that are chrismat or anointed by seeing Allah. Plus bottom Christ cup or Keter Kas or lower lens or Shoshan or Susan of Daniel 8:2, Susanna or Susan, upon the Alpha to Omega valley Audiyat, or the valley. That's why he, in Songs of Solomon we say that he is the Shushan or the Susan or the sun shining or the moon shining, shine, or scintillating lily of the valley. Or we say Christ the Karimi Kokab. We will look at the superstar or the Najm al-Shu'ara Yamaniya or the Sirius superstar or Parvini Pravini or Shabahang or the Tishtari superstar or the Kokab. Surah 24:35, Christ the and the name of Christ is the Kokab or the star of the night or the Sirius star or the star of consciousness, pearly star, kindled cow clock, lit lamp or turned on Tarshish or Yaqad Yoqadi door, who is Yoqaded or kindled or Yugad or yoked to love, and is now the river has reached down, and so the lower hard book is attached to the soft pages or the tender breads of the Bethlehem, the soft pages or the fig foliage leaf of the tree of life, as well as the presence of Allahi author. And so Hushain Shaloms or Noors, Nars, as Tanur, it's another name of Christ, in 23:27, or the Noors or Vofurs or the Tifarats or the overfloods and the sprouts, as the oven or as the furnace. In the cold night of history, in this dark cold night, it's like a cozy house with a glass and a bridal space that is lit with presence of Allahi, source of light. And that's why Christ says that I am the light in the dark night, or the Genesis 1:6 says that, and the moon that rules over this hellish, cold, dark night, or the burning breast. Some people translate it as the bush that Moses catch a fire so that we can warm up our heart in the cold night of the cold-blooded reptiles that are satisfied with the retard nonsense of this filthy golden calf that says that sells them a reincarnation, and they're happy with creation and then transformation and then masochistic destruction, CTD, and they don't care. These are the bugged virus programs that are okay with that. They don't need any resurrection. They cannot actually see or cope with or understand the purpose and the programming and the software or any of those things, or that is resurrection. Or as Tanur of Nun, Ning, Izad, Yasin, Yazdan. And so Nuning is basically God, or the source. That means Isa is transfusing Barzakh or heat permeating partition, or burning belief bulb, or hot hard shell godly jasper glass zojajat zekokit in or the glass in Hebrew, Arabic, Persian, who is بیناهما این بیان و ما بینهما or between میگه Genesis 1:6 between, and God divided, or the between, or distinguished between bina, bayan, understanding, distinguishing. That's the understanding that animals don't have. This understanding is not about the fact that, all right, I'm horny, let's go empty and balance my hormonal imbalance, or that kind of crap, or my stomach is making noise, so I'm hungry, and so let me feed myself, and so in order to have a better, let me use my brain to feed myself better, or that kind of thing. This bayan or bayana or bina or distinguishing is aesthetic. It's related to the beauty. Unfortunately, the orangutans that talk about the sacred geometries and sacred sounds cannot see that sacredness of that beauty. That is different sacredness. Is binahama or betweening, or hot holy heaven, firahi furnace, olive oilahi oven, solar stoves, godly tanur we call him, or messianic misbah, and cold earth of queer and cursed chimeras of Krishna Scratch. And can bina or bayan or bina or seeing both sides, and so it is because of rocky standing deen or deenun qayyim with of Izad Allah or Yasin Yasna Allah or Yazdan Allah, or Yahweh with Yah replaced with Yas of Elias becomes Yasua, or he who is Yas, or Yazdan, or Yazd, Yazad, Izad Allah. That is Isa Messiah. Here religion is called from one face side as best of the beloveds, or Chabat Salet, we call it as the Chabat Salet, or Salamana 2:1, or Chabat Salet, or Habib, that is for the Habibat of Solat or Solat. It is also mentioned for 3 times in Surah 56, or Solat, or selection, which means literally Salat comes into English, becomes selection. And so that's one of the names of Christ, is the most beloved Habibi of Allah's selection, because Allah gets in everybody in his photo album. That's why Allah says that I am happy with this one. This is my basically master. I've completed my mastery in the creation by making Christ. Matthew 17, for instance. And so, like Matthew 17:5 says, I'm satisfied with this. That again, he is the religion, a standing religion of Izad Allah, and that's why Allah says that he is the best of the Salat, or the selection in the photo album family of Allah, family photo album of Allah, photographer, of truthful poets, or hymning waterwords, or superstar of consciousness, or Kawkab, that we had it somewhere here. Kokab, or the superstar of the night. And another, or we also call it as the star of Sharon, or Sharon, or Sirius Shara. And that Sharon is Sharon, star of Sharon, is actually what is mentioned. Another name of Christ is a star of Najm Shara, or the Tishteria is the name of Christ, or the star of consciousness. She'r means poets, or mashair, or mashal. We will look at the Hebrew names for it, or Sirius She'r, and the hairs, or the hair rays of that moonshine or Susaning lily in the valley can be shared by the people that rap like John the Baptist, or Yahya, or Johannes, rap camel wool or hair ray of the star of consciousness around themselves. That's the garment of faith. To Allah Yazdan Rahman Izad Yazata, He Allah. And so that's or the star of Sharon, She'ran, Saran, Sirius, Sir, poets, headmasters of consciousness, who share her ray from Allah, or She'ra, Najma She'ra Yamani, or Sharoni, third eye, who is at closest, highest, first Protos level. That's why we at the Asura 53 is named after Christ, as the Najm. We will look at it in detail, and because of this reason, that he shoots up like the superstar in the shaft, like in the elevator, in the corridor, or the Salsabili spring, or the boulevard. That's just the boulevard for the mega bird of the heavenly birdness. He goes all the way up toward Allah, and then becomes the ring, Ruhi, rainbow, and then the glory of Allah through that open ring fulfills and fluxes all the way into the heavenly home, and then no one can sit still, and everybody will go into absolute ecstasy. And so let us continue here with level of the cognition. To Allah He Keter Kron, and from his other face side, from the lowest LastChance, or Saqet, or Suqut, the hardcover, he is called as lamp lily of the vanity valley, who is warmly intaking and grabbing, or Vatul Wasqa, or chinuding, or chinud proto, or the chinvat bridge, or chinut proto, or chindan, or hand picking, the ones that are asking, knock and it will be open to you, or ask and then you will receive the mercy. Alhamdulillah. That's why he is Kareem. That's why Allah is Kareem, and that's how through Allah He Kareem, his karamat reaches to us through his Wainahi chroming and anointing and warmly intaking and grabbing rope of redemption, or Christ. And from the outside again, he is called the lamp lily of the lily divinity, who is warmly intaking, grabbing the meaningful water words, while he is bitterly frowning, not laughing, sullenly abasing, hating and abasing, yawman abusan, the day that is abuse, and it is frowning, as mirroring Malik, or the angel, master angel, the owner of hell, or the Emrat, or the Gaia gap, or the Jahannam, who reflects the ugly and pervert performance of Upanishadi apes and heliocentric nooks and hairy kirtan goats of Mount Seir, of Abusos or Abyss, I see Apushtiv. Again, this is the name of elected president of a nation that thinks it has anything to do with Christianity, but again, its government is absolutely Hindu governed and ruled and orchestrated by Apushtiv, who is against the Tishteria, or our beloved star of consciousness that reigns she'r and shu'ur and mashairs and consciousness to us. Again, this consciousness is not the consciousness of a relativistic Taoist or the Zen zombie that is just a mind. That's it. I don't have anything else. A little bit of rubbish around it. This is a higher class of consciousness. In order to sum up all of these three levels of Isa Messiah, he toured the temple of God from his sixth chakra or top heart covered third eye, or 52 و تور و کتاب مستور, and then so Yastarun starts of Surah 68 verse 1 by means of Allah in Noon, or the fire source, or the middle of the day, and then to fourth chakra or the middle heart, or the Tifarati Tofur, and Wafar of the Tanur, where the Tanur Wafaras, or the overflows and the overfloods, and not only with floods of wrath but also with floods of mercy, depending on the program, whether it is a bug in the recycle bin, a Buddhist bug, or a Vishnuic virus to be terminated, or it is what do you call it, a healthy, lush Zamarrodi or Zamargodosi, Zamaring or Mizmaring or Psalming or singing flute, or program that is singing perfectly, lovingly, with full free will, and praising God, Allah God, and then to all the way down to the first Yesadi foundation, lower heart cover. We have to focus on iron gold backbone of Cow Christ, or the golden backbone. Again, iron or gold, they are transmutable, as well as the silver, and then the brazen, or they're all coming from the Manipuri part as the energy package. However, then they become different levels of the programming. That as the only straight path in cow creation connects the meaning mansion to oming hellhole of sensual sensations and sounds, or shinari sensations, to back assembled horns or cups or eyes of Zulqarniya or Zulqarnain are actually governing one, the higher con. This is the BDCTN model of consciousness that I've developed. This is the higher con, or Yakon, or Ikon, or the higher state of consciousness and being, or the higher cosmos, or the heaven, and then this is the lower one, and then here we have the Christ the Karimi lens, or here we also have it. People talk from here the access is this way to gain altitude. Basically here Allah is sitting, but at the same time we can see that this is governed by Allah. And so at one side we have the Malik of the hell, or the Christ King of the lower Kon, or Hayat Dunya, or the Hayat of Hitti, Hittie, Hitti, Huti, Ikhtusi, fishes or fishy life forms, and stinky, stenchy life forms of the Dead Sea. The half fish, half humans that we saw. These are the Hittis or the Hittis that are going to be soon exterminated perfectly. And then we also have this higher Kon, that it's a very lower part, or the lowest ring is the eschaton, and then from here we gain elevation all the way toward the protos, and then again both of these are given to Allah, and these are the word lines that by which Zul-Qarnayn, or the owner of two horns, or qarns, or corneas, is governing as the Melchizedeki priest of the heaven, as well as the Malek of the hell. And so here he has the Amores Beitul Ma'amur or Ale Imrani bride, and then here his bride is are the wicked victims of vanity, are always working in tandem together. Whether Isa becomes third eye Iris, Iris in English or Iris in Greek, are from the same family of Araz or Aries, or which means widths around pupil, or the center, or arsh, or pupil, arsh in Arabic, Persian, or Hebrew, or also we call it cruise, like in what is in English, or kursi, or seat, or tayran, flying bird. Cruise means boat, or arsh means seat, bench, or flying boat on seas. That's why we read in Surah 11 verse 7 that Allah is flying or floating above the oceans, the sweet ocean and the salty ocean, in order to test and get us to become arranged according to the amount of love that we have. The hateful ones, the ones that are worshipping a gay animal as God, are ranked as lower, and the ones that are worshipping the only one God are ranked as higher. And then that is called kursi, or adasiyat, or the lens, and then or panah, pahne, pan, or panum, or panah. We will look at different applications, and so whether Isa becomes the third Aries, or the width of the pupil, or first fara parto, or fara فار پرتو of earning Iraning or Arahing Ariaing or receiving earning of light from Allah, or he comes down and sits at his lowest eschatological lens or second pupil, or Adasat or Adesiyat or Yesadi Caucasus cloud of 757, or Nimbusi nebula of Yasminahi Nefel or Nafe به بوی کافه‌ای نافه‌ای کآخر سبازان طره بگشاید or Sabaoth opens the hair rays from the Nif or Naphtali or Nafeh or Nafach or Nif or Nafs. This is not the base nafs, this is the altered nafs. The base nafs is not this one, and so we have, or the Naphtali for instance, the Naphtali cloud. He is always love looking simultaneously upward and downward by merciful means of his two back-to-back lily lens cups, corneas, or he is double-sided Susana or Susan or Shushan or glassy lodge of sweet Suresh Krisht Khras or Christalos Christos or crystally crystal glass. And so this crystal glass, this diamond glass, this Tarshish, which means the wet glass, is the glass that is gonna cut the Vajra diamond of that orangutan. We call it a crown chakra clitoris of Curse Krishna scratch, or that Barack Baboon Obama, the King Kong of the Harry Hellions, is gonna just cut that, amputate that easily. And then the pagan party will be over. And so this diamond is a God-made diamond, or this crystallos. If you look at the Revelation 4, I think verse 6, the glass sea, the crystal sea, or the molten sea, or the brazen sea, is or Tarshish or Shishei, Tarshishei, or the Kokab is or Zakakiyat or Zojajat, or vitrified glass or vitrified diamond, is just different from the man-made diamond of Summary that has made the dirty Dadichi. Each cup of cast metal of Anima Mundi beholds one axis mundi. In other words, what is translated in 1 Kings 7 as porch of pillar or Olam Amudim, that is literally what we read in 1 Kings 7 as the Olam or Ola. Also we have it in Daniel 8, or Ola, Olam Amudim, and vertical, the high porch, primary initial vertical vectors of visionary vestibule, is in fact two back-to-back lines of salam site, or back-to-back horn, or we call it korni, or qarniya, or qarn, or qarniya in Arabic, in Persian, or karos, or korniya in English language, or in Arabic, or Crotosil. This is actually for the name of the Christ as Zulqarnain, the owner of two corneas, or the owner of the obvious manna moon, and the owner of the hidden manna, that, or the hidden cornea, the cornea that is behind the Boaz, El Shaddai Boaz cornea, that is beholding Allah. And so back-to-back corneas of Zulqarnain of Asura 1883, another mystical and Quranic name of Christ, of Isa Messiah, eyesight of Allah creator, again because the lamp is the lens of the camera that Allah photographer photo shoots with him upon his cow Christ and his creation. To one troposi trips together. Again, that this type of creation is completely alien for the people that make Christ like man, and also it is not the God too. And so this one plus another one, back to back, trip tropos tarf, or eyesight together. As I said, with one tropos that is what the human or all the animals that you see here have. They function with one tropos, and with one tropos you function in the space that you behold with that, although in different ranges and brain waves or whatever. But with the another tropos, if you have, then you not only you can walk outside, or you can walk in your outside, although you are stuck sticking to yourself, but that is not for the Christ. You can come outside of that tropos, but also he can go inside. Like imagine this kind of vein that you can go and look at the intestines or whatever you have inside yourself, or you can go and check what's going on in your blood vessels or in your neurons inside your body as well as outside. That means walking outside of him solar self and walking into him solar self. That's the meaning of the two cornea, or an entity or a type of existence that Allah has made. That's why Allah says, I'm satisfied with this transparent double-sided glass screen, or two Christ Karimi optics, or two initial arrow lines or normal vectors of two Isahi eyes, cornea, qarniyas, are beholding the creation as Yahu Yasha or Wasa Yada of Allah, Surah 36, verse 83, or Yamine, or the right hand of God, top right hand one of these two pillars, or Isa Qalami Ain Sin Qaf of Surah 42:2, or Maqalid, or the key column Maqalid, or Klis, or Khalid in Persian, or Khalid in Arabic. And so top right hand of heaven and Hades of these two pillars, or Isa Qalami, pen, Qalam means pen, or horns of the Zulqarnain, or the double horned cow, or Mahishasuria of heaven and Hades, is called perpendicular and primordial pillar, these two, top right one. And so the basically they are assembled on top of each other, and so it is what we call Ola Alaman Amadem Momaddada, and so the highly raised vertical column of the heaven and earth that you don't see it, and that precisely what we have in Book of Kings, 1 Kings 7, or also in these references. And so the top right hand one, because we have it as the right hand of the Christ in Revelation 1 verse 18 or Revelation 2 verse 1, and so the right one, or the right horn, or the normal vector, is called as Jakin or Yakin, or that or Maknoon. Ma is the prefix of the space, and so Maknoon is that and the cone or the icon is or Iken or Yakin or Jakin, Jachin. That is in fact Yakin. Yakin is coming from in Holy Quran, is mentioned in several places as in the form of Maknoon, Kitabun Maknoon, which means conned or placed, or a cone that is yakon according to the order of Allah, or the a reading state that is turned after reading the command, and yes, turund and love line is turned into yakun, and so that is why it is called Kitab Maknoon. That's another name of Christ, or the book that is fixedly placed by looking at the author of the book, that is love lining the book, and so that is firmly fixed. That is what we call it as the backbone of the entire creation, whether heaven or the earth, or the basically the right hand of the Christ, by which Christ is hanging from Allah and the Holy Spirit, or the Maknoon Kitab or Ikon or Akon. Also we have it as كالمثل اللؤلؤ المكنون, or we have it as Zulqarnain says as Surah 18 verse 94, I think, وَمَا مَكَّنَّاهُ رَبِّي, or Makanna is what we call it, or Surah 18 verse 84 also talks about Makanna, that says that God has Makanna, or placed, or placed an icon, or coned, like a cone, or placed the Christ on earth. That's why he says, I am the light of the lower hellhole, or the lower cone. And so those are the accounts that are directly using the same yakin, or your icon, or the beholder of the higher cone with 10 mekonas, or 10 lo al maknoon. And so the 10 images, or the bases, or 10 inhale auditing exhale bases, or 10 panting nostrils, al-adiyat zabhan, as Surah 1 verse 1. It is basically what Christ, by means of that, Christ inhales Yasminahi Ismallah of Allah, Yasna Yazdan Yasin, Arsh Adasiya, or Cruz Kursi, or Panah Pahne Penueli, or Panah Pahne Parvardegari, and then he can exhale it to our part into our sewerage, stinky sewerage, and give us a little bit of air so that we don't become asphyxiated. A beholder of the higher cone with 10 mekona or 10 inhale exhaling bases of Kings 7, 1 Kings 7, 27, 39, 43 of Ritra Vortexy Christ, or Ahurahi Anan, Anan, or Hurul Ain, or Zatum wa Qararum wa Ma'in, or the spring that, or an eye spring, or a cloud spring, an Ahurahi cloud spring, that is mu'ayind or mu'ayyand or determined or is seeing something. Because if it's absolute dark and then you are blinking in darkness, you don't see anything. You have to see something. So what do you see? The only thing that you can see. And what is that? That is the Allahi Salam Sun source. And that's how Christ the Karimi Manna moon, or the moon, receives the light from the Allahi Sun at his back. And so that's how Christ becomes stable. Or basically, the foundation of the tree and the trunk of the tree of life is stable, not by in a way that the trunk, although the tree is hanging on the Christ, but how the Christ is being hanging, hovering in the middle of the earth, or vama bainahuma, or bina, or bain, or between in the heaven and the earth. Allah is managing and ordering and holding his right hand. Anytime that Allah wants, his right hand falls down. That is how Allah is iconing, maknooning, or yakining, or holding not only the Christ, but through Christ the tree of life. Because once you hold the foundation upon which the trunk, without touching the throne, ولم يكن له كفوا أحد, and so without touching, ولا تمسسه النار نور على نور, without touching. And so once the trunk and the periphery, or the secondary afanan, or the branches, or the fanning or phoning or wording and voicing and galgaling, فرعها في السماء of Surah 14 verse 24, they are hanging on Christ. And so once Allah holds the Christ, and then Christ is hold. And another way is that, like, the foundation is in fact hanging from the trunk, and Allah is holding the trunk. How? Because the trunk is fanning. And so once the trunk is fanning, then this heavy stone, the cornerstone that crushes everything, can be lifted up above the hellhole. And so that is how we read that he is the Zatan and Qararan wa Mu'in of Surah 23:50, or Book of Revelation 12, chapter 12 verse 5, where Mother Maria and Christ, or the Ummul Kitab, are raised into a spring, or in a determined iron place. That's how from that eye hole the light and the love and the decree and the order comes into a jungle that some animals in it are being controlled by the survival of the most powerful and the most fittest and the most bullying gorilla in the jungle that has more wives and that type of thing. That is precisely the basically the accumulation of the wealth and the military and the lies and then the powers and then the intelligence and the food that food sources that you see, that empire of the thoughtful pharaoh of the Egypt or the planet ape has accumulated around itself. And so another name is that we can look at it as Yakin or Maknoon or Kitab al-Maknoon or Vama Makkanna Rabbi or where I'm placed by my Lord, or Allamnahu min ladunna ilman, or how he is given a knowledge and alamd by Allah. In Surah 18 verse I think 65 to 70, that is also talking about a firmly fixed fountain furnace, or the Zat Qararan wa Mu'in. And so from this qarar, the qarar makin of Surah 23 verse 13 happens, because the malakuti membrane, as we will read later on, is hanging from this primordial pillar porch, or the Ola Alam Amadan Mumaddada, that we cannot see it, but everything is hanging from it. It's basically the computer that is running the entire simulation. Firmly fixed fountain furnace, or Christ the Karimi Mu'aid, or Ka'asum Mu'in, or Cased, or Allah protected a slate. We call him also as the Lawhul Mahfuz. How is he Mahfuz? By being held up from his back, because that's why we read in Revelation 1:18 that Christ is holding the lampstand on his right hand. Without the lampstand, Christ turns off, okay? Or without a crown that is full of the 7 stars, Christ turns off, and the 7 stars are turned on by the love light of Allah. And so that's how Christ is hovering in the middle of the air. رب السماوات والأرض وما بينهما. Who is بينهما? Who is between the heaven and earth? That is what we call him as Yakin Kitab, or firmly fixed, hovered or hanged or suspended book of life in the middle, or Lawhul Mahfuz, or the safeguarded and protected and hanged and hovered Loh, a slate, solar slate. That is the ceiling of the hellhole, and then the foundation of the heavenly home. At bottom left hand one, again, in all of the Holy Scriptures terminology, the left hand is the lower one, and then the right hand is the higher one. And so, like, once we look at it in a cylindrical or in a vertical or hierarchy, ontological hierarchy, then left means lower, and then right means higher. However, once we're talking about God, the right hand of God means the underneath of God, and then the left hand means lower than the right hand. And so, and then the left hand of Christ, what is he doing with the left hand? That the left hand and the bottom left hand one, or the lower cornea, or horn, or cornea of Christ is, as we read here, and the bottom left hand one of these two perpendicular and primordial pillars that are assembled on top of each other, as we will look at it shortly, is called El Shaddai Boaz, or Ba'sun Shadid, which means El Shaddai or Shadid, and then Boaz as Ba'as, that is mentioned twice in Holy Quran with this name. It's just precisely that Yakin and Boaz, pillars of the Solomon's temple. And so بأس شدید و انزلناه الحدید فیه البأس الشدید, we descended the iron, the hadid, or the sharp iron, pure logic and logic that is exerting, commanding over the hellhole, that in him is extreme strength and power. Boaz means ba'as, pace, power, strength. Allah approved iron sword, the illumination or show of logic force. This Boaz is the iron sword of Mahishasura, that Durga dragon, and the lion that puts his scarlet penis in her vagina of the Satan, or Barack Hussein Obama, are going to attack to him. We also call this El Shaddai Boaz as the book of Genesis chapter 3 verse 24, the flaming sword that is protecting the heaven from here Genesis 3:24, from astray anomalies of Advaita school of Hinduism. We have it in book of Revelation verse 1, or illumination or show of logical force or absolute reason, that none of our excuses on the judgment day can stand this heavy and sharp reasoning. And that's why we are all already chestmated in front of all the pretexts, and everything will fade away once you look at the Christ. Then you understand what is El Shaddai Boaz, although for many of us it will be too late. I'm just here to tell you and share with you that we're all going to soon go under this El Shaddai Boaz strength, solar strength of the Christ, and then we're going to see that no pretext and no excuse can justify our hateful actions, or our indifference, or our inaction, unfortunately. Although we are living in a world that extremely needs our immediate attention, but we are completely lullabied and fallen into a sleep by the flute, naked emperor, and the flute piper. This orangutan, the owner of the TVs and the internet, and then everything on the planet, the NSA, the gay prides, the psychedelic sorceries, with the drugs, with the cyberspatial media, with everything, with all the print, with all the universities, with all of the scientific models. He has completely stripped our species naked from believing to God, because that God cannot is outside of boundaries of Shiva made or Shova made. Hebrew Strong's 77:22 and 23. Shova made, Shiva made, Su made. Science, that, as Descartes said, is based on numbers and measurement. And so it's called El Shaddai Boaz, with 10 fire of flushing, rinsing, 10 douching, douche rahas outlets, or falmuriyat qadhan. That's about the 10 bases, or the lavers, as we read it in book of 1 Kings 7:30 and 38. Or also Zechariah 12:6, we will look at it, or the 10 shahab showering, or the meteor showering. That's the power of the iron. And outpouring torches, and then the lavers and the fire pots, or kiyur, or qur, or kure, precisely kure in Persian, or qar, or maqarat, or kure, cure, or 10 suction knobs, poking, pouches, or pegaim, or puke, which is what is used as pakim, or puke, that by working in tandem, again these two back to back lily cups are working together, and that working in tandem, or musanna, or back to back rows, with 10 mekonat, the ones that are we read here, mekonat, or here is the mekonat, or the 10 higher cone, mini cones of the higher cone, that are maknoon to God, or to Christ, that is, and Christ is maknoon to God, or maknooni, panting nostrils. These ones are exhaling, and so they would do the earthly sucking or ablaing, and so these ones are exhaling and these ones are inhaling, and it depends on how you look at it. These ones have the negative pressure, these ones have the positive pressure, and so the higher 10 mekonas, these 10 mekonas that are mentioned here in 1 Kings 7:27 to 39 are coupled actually with these ones, and these are working on that negative pressure. And one way of looking is that they suck, and so here it is mentioned that would do the sucking, earthly sucking, and that's how God says at the Noah's flood that suck your water, that eblai water, that water is not again this water that we see, that water is the water that will suck like the flush of a toilet. All of these Taoists in the pagodas of the Barack Obama, they will be all going with the rest of the excrements, and then the samadhi scumbags and all the sands and the sodomites and everything, and their genes and their rudras and their maruts and their dung beetle rolling makaras of the pharaonic pantheon. All of those garbages will go down into eblai, earth, suck this curse Krishna Eskharachi crap, and then they will go to their eternal abode. And so they would do the earthly sucking, and also the higher ones, these are the والعاديات ذبحا فالموريات قدحا, and so these ones are the panting nostrils, and these ones are like basically flushing, rinsing, douching, and so these ones are ablaing, and these ones are flooding. That's how the flood of the floodgate happens, and so that's how heavenly flooding comes, and then earthly suction is happening. So we call it Irisi arc exiting. That's a part of are working for exiting from the mothership, and part of them are working for embarking the mothership. And so these ones are working for the embarking, and also these levers or these kuras are working for exiting. And at the same time, once you want to embark, you are gonna be washed by these or by the molten sea. And so these would do, what they would do is the earthly sucking of your sins, and once your sins are cleansed by the fire of these ones, then the positive pressure here is gonna basically lovingly and eagerly and voraciously get you to go into the madkhal al-sidq, or righteous entry. And also we call them as the meeting, dividing, tabdil bedeliyoming, anchorings, majraha wa marsaha. And so the Christ Kibutos Kaaba ark is dropping anchors and again fixating to the 10 plus 9 bases through these 21s. 10 plus 10 are actually those 19s plus the 21. That is always, one of them is always the one that is occupied with the Christ. And so that's how, again, these are not separate from the Christ, these are part of Christ body, just like different components or elements of our body, in the same way they are part of the heikal. And so whether majraha, like anchoring of the Noah's ark, or dropping, pulling up the anchor and floating above the flood, that is called majraha, by circulating and going into the heavenly Gilgal. That are also part of it is regulated through these والعادیات ضبحا فالموریات قدحا of Asura 1, 2, 3, 4, at the center of Vasat, as we will read, at the center and the Vasat of garden. Of water words, both of them, that is shortly called Du'ahidon and Messianic moonriser of Messianic Misbah. That's why we have it in Asura 100 verse 3 as Falmughayyirate Subhan, or Misbahi Subhan. And so they are the bring the necessary changes, like any one of these 21s can be the lucky one that is becoming one as a host of the Christ, or as a seat that Christ puts his right leg on the surface and the lower leg on the deep sea, or the dry land and the deep sea. One of these become as part of that pedestal, and so those 19 ones are actually these 10 Makona bases. These are living things, these are living beings, billions of times more living than me and you, that are prisoned inside the language bubble. And so and again these muqaddarat, these are like way their diameter and the influx that they are receiving is just enormously huge. The dimensions that are they have. So above the dusts of the Galilee garden, that's why they do فَالْمُغَيِّرَاتِ subhan of verse 3 on فَأَسَرَنَّ بِهِ نَقْعًا. And so at the center of the garden, here we can see at the center of the garden what that means. And so here you can see فَوَسَطْنَ بِهِ جَمْعًا, and thereby in the center collectively. فَأَسَرَنَّ, that asaren means is ta'asirin or guiding or scratching the field with the iron rod or shattering the pots. And so like dust particles, and it's just stirring the dust of the Shinari sand dunes. And so how does it happen? As we read by فَوَسَطْنَ بِهِ جَمْعًا, this vasat or this center is the center that we have it in Genesis. If we go to Genesis 2, we see that it is in the midst of the garden. And so where is the tree of life? In the midst or in the center, in the center of the garden. This center is فَوَسَطْنَ بِهِ جَمْعًا. And so the entire garden is in fact governed by the tower, watchtower that of Matthew 21 verse 33, that is at the vasat or the center of the hellhole or the Galilee garden or earth or the Galilee garden. And so we also call it this فالمغيرات صبحا, or the these are the Sabaoti army, part of the Sabaoti army of the Christ, that are of the Sultan, like the Ifrits that we have, or the mounts. These are the huge mounts, Jinvale mounts, or the 19 plus 1 angels of hell, or the Maqam min Hadid, or the iron maces, or the Zabaniya, or the 70 cubita tall, as we will look at it, how it works. But they become elongated again in order to they assemble on the top of each other in a telescopic manner, in a tooly manner, in order to tail or taily manner, in order to provide the holy height of 7 thunders, 177 cubita and 10 cubita in width. That is the hugest thing that you can see in the garden. That is our Christ King. You have to go into the underworld to see who is the king. Don't look at the empire of this as animal sodomite on the earth. All you need to do is to just leave this dimension. That's inshallah what Commander-in-Chief of the IRGC armies is going to manage very well after my death, the Sardar Qasem Soleimani and Hassan Nasrallah. These are going inshallah to lead the slaves of the Pharaoh out of their captivity here. They're going and so a part of this فالمغيرات صبحا or bringers of the morning and different levels of barakat. But again, part of the barakat and the blessing of the earth is to keep its crap inside, like a chimpanzee that does sun dance or Surya Namastakara or sun salutation is just a very filthy and stinky piece of abomination to even get anywhere close to Mash'arul Haram. And so they are going to make sure that as Sabaoti Subh or the morning armies of the morning Misbah, they're not gonna allow that dark dirt get anywhere close to the heavenly home of the great march of returning ships that are being butchered by the unconditional love talking tyrant or tyrann, in Tyrannus in Greek, or Darande, we call it in Persian, tyrann, or tyrant in English. Anyway, so Din, daybreak is another name of Christ that is working with these slaves of him, or because Falaq-ud-Din, قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ الْفَلَقِ. So like the people are asking to get to this falaq, because there are different modes of the moonshine, just like the moon that has different stages of tiny crescent into the full moon, and so there are different stages, and Christ the Karimi computer that is attached to these 20 wands, or the 10 mekonas and the 10 lavers, or 10 quyurs or kiyurs, 10 kuras, is actually like is sliding, can slide on these slots or on these pedestals in different modes without moving. Nothing moves there, but these are the different states, and there are interchangeable parts. And so but again, they are all working in series together, telescope like a telescope, and so that's why we call it as the Al-Falaq. That's another name of Christ, or the morning, daybreak, twilight, and every Muslim is seeking refuge to the morning dawn, or the Hind, or the gazelle of like a illuminous gazelle that is hovering or walking on the Galilee, dark waters of the Galilee garden. And it's one of the poetic names that masters give to Christ. When he comes, awe arises from everybody in the Galilee garden, and so that is Falaq-ud-Din, or the messianic morning, or daybreak, and so it also brings a lot of that arise from the hearts. And so that daybreak, that gazelle or Hind of the morning, that is another name of Falaq-ud-Din. And so the heavenly Hajis that have Hajat and Ihtiyaj of Hujjatul Balagha, or reasoning, and they need that reasoning, they seek refuge to this daybreak. And golden morning, we call it also in 8118, a moving of the Spirit of Allah upon the Dead Sea, or the hovering of Genesis 1:2. With these verses precisely, they are talking about the same rain cloud that is coming above the Dead Sea. And then what does he do? He does ruh, or ruh, or rocha, or rachu, or rachaf. That's Genesis 1:2. Here we have it again, and so Rachaw or Ruch are coming from the precisely Rachaf or Rachu or Rocha Rakhaf are coming from, it means facing. No one moves, no, gazelle doesn't move or anything. Gazelle gazes with different states, or like a lens that can goes into extreme telemode, or it can turn to a wide fish angle lens. That's how we are talking about the moving, because if Christ moves, Christ is makona to Allah, and so that's he's firmly fixed and placed, stabilized. And so, but again, these angle can widen or can become narrow. It can become field of the view of the lens, or the heavy lens of the camera. Allah loves his lens just like any other photographer. The power in the shooting, because the demand of the photographer, professional photographer, is too high, so he needs a super professional, mega powerful lens. And that's why Allah says, I love, in Matthew 17 verse, it says that I love this lens, is awesome, it's just my master kitchen. It's the Christos Christosi crystal lens of mine. That's just like no matter how dark is this Rama rat hole or this black hole, my lens is gonna shot a nice flash lightning, or Ra'dullah yusabbihu Ra'da wa bahamda, and then Shapalaq will inshallah chop down this penis of the Jewish feminism with all of the yogis that are yoking to that tree of knowledge of evil. Of God. And so this is ruching, or facing, because the salam screen of God is facing or ruching into, or the watchtower is facing, looking, observing to our different parts. That is basically ruchu or rochaing, or the spirit of God is facing. That's precisely called Persian ruch. Rock is coming from the same thing. Ruch, rock, face, surat, sur, sovar, is coming all together from the same part of God upon empty ego, naked nafs, void, vanity, nas. Ironahi moonrise. Another thing of it is that we can call it as the Boaz, El Shaddai Boaz. Ironahi moonrise. This is the rise of the reason. If you cannot come up with an excuse in front of that enormous amount of heavy chunk of iron, then you're not gonna win your court case, and then you will be sentenced into hell. No, I'm talking about myself, by you, talking to you and myself. And the solar coming of sword out of Misbahi mouse face preeminence. I, firmamental eagle fly of Homahi or Haomahi, Homa Ta'erul Homa, I view. That's the Qararan Zata Qararan va Ma'in. And so that's how Christ that is fixed, or the yakin, is going to Ma'in, or a spring, or look, or Kauthar, or ether, or drop ether upon the jungle of the survival of the fittest and the more bullying baboon. Or we also call it Manesher or Manshur or Rakol Manshur or Yasamin Yasminahi, air ventilation of Sabaiyan, Sabaiyan, Sabian, Sabauti, Spirita, Sabaiyan Chokma, or wisdom. وَالصُّبْحِ السَّمَاءِ إِذَا تَنَفَّسْ مِنْ حُكْمِ سَبِيًّا. That's the حُكْم سَبِيًّا that is given to Yohanan or Johannes or Yahya. Yahya, the living and the living. Or so a strong might of golden godly Irona, whose shadid or intense Boaz, severe punishment or severe strength in the argument in the garden. There is no sickle or no gun or no nothing over there. It's just in the power of absolute love or hate, will be exerted by Qarnayn or Barzal al-Qarnayn of Micah 8:4-13, 1 Kings 22:11, 2 Chronicle 18:10. They're all talking about Zulqarnain. No kidding. Qarnayn or Barzal Qarnayn or Qarni Barzal that is mentioned, or the iron horn of cow Christ, that is the left hand of cow Christ. And so with right hand cow Christ is hanging from Allah and from Holy Spirit, from the lampstand, and in the middle of the air, in the mid-air, as we read in Book of Revelation. And then with the left hand of him, or with the left gaze, he will just, with the iron rod, he will shepherd the Xi Jinping and his entire communist empire of crappy cards, as well as the this orangutan in France that is hitting the people, and Angela Merkel in Germany, and that lizard queen of the England, and the rest of the chimpanzees that are working for Barack Obama and his Dalai Lama Lamia. So Qarnayn Barzal is Zulqarnain, or Messiah Malik, the owner and the king of the hellfire, that from Alpha to Omega reigns there and is filled with from Alpha to Omega is filled with Hindus, Buddhists, Baha'is, Yogis, homosexual, atheists, Thorns, and at lower than all of these, like they are going to be in first class resort in comparison with hypocrite Muslims and hypocrite Christians, or Christian cowards of queer churches who have submitted to Barack Obama, Gog and Budapest, of funky Freemasons whose Nazi juggernaut is tyrannically walking on foamy sickle legs of iron Barzal of Daniel 2:33, and breaks the pots and turns them to hippies. And they are proud of these prison break, jailbreaking, puffed up inmates that are running the gay show of Yajuj or Gog are actually, as we read, their Makaras and their Rudras and their Maruts, mortal Maruts, are talking about the Ba'as Shadid that they have. Again, the Freemasons also have their own Caliphati or counterfeit way of their Devaraka, or their juggernaut is a Nazi juggernaut or the chariot is basically has that type of is a replica of the God made one, or the Christ Turturi temple هیکل. Each one of the two ایرونای کرنیه، قرنیه، کرنیه، القرنیه or Crotosia cave cups of Christ Karim Zulqarnain is called one chapiter or one crown cup, and we have the two cups back to back, firmly anchored third eye aperture or qudrat or qudrat or qadr or the frame or the qudur or rasiyat. Quduran taqdira, and so part of this qudur or rasiyat, in addition to the 19 ones, one of them it becomes the keter that is actually engaged as a slot, as a hosting a slot of the king when he puts his legs down and come to see what the hell is going on in hell. That is made by Allahi Qadir or Qater or Keter or Qadir or decree Potter or the Qudrat maker or the love power maker. So that's how Christ reigns above the hate hole. So Allah charges him with love, and then he comes and discharges love here.